What we have today is a Casablanca Delta II in Dusty Rose. This is an older Dusty Rose Delta II, as it has a 4-blade only flywheel and point tip blades. And it also came with a K4S. This is the glass that it came with as well. And this fan originally did come with its hang-true down rod and all that. It does have a notched hang-true, obviously. And it came with a very long down rod originally. I believe it was 4 feet. So, do kind of wonder where this fan was originally installed, because it had to have been somewhere on a really high ceiling. And one other interesting thing about this fan is that it is from 1986. Yet Dusty Rose was not actually featured in the Casablanca catalog until 1987. So that most likely means that either, number one, it was a mid-year change-up. And what I mean by that was Decorator Mauve was the pink fan for 1986, but before 1986 was over, that fan was suffering from poor sales, so they decided to change the pink color around to hopefully, get more sales. So before 86 was over, they introduced Dusty Rose as the new pink finish. Either that, or two, this was an early experimental design. Perhaps, Mauve wasn't selling too well, so they figured, okay, come 1987, we're going to introduce a new pink finish to take its place. So, towards the end of 1986, they designed a few, experimental prototype Dusty Rose Delta IIs, I suppose. We're just kind of experimenting around with colors. Perhaps this was one of the first ones ever made, but it wasn't actually, put in a showroom and sold until sometime in 1987. Those are my theories, anyway. But either way, this is one of the earliest Dusty Roses you will ever find. Anyways, now we'll go ahead and demonstrate the fan. So, this fan came with everything except for the crossbar and most of its screws. It was missing the hang-true to crossbar screws and then the bracket to flywheel screws. But it did come with a toggle switch unit and a decorative pink switch plate. I don't know why the seller thought it'd be necessary to include the switch plate and the switch receptacle, but not the screws to the fan, but whatever. Those screws aren't too hard to replace. With all the Casablancas I have, I had plenty of spares lying around. Now we'll go ahead and start the fan off on low. So, as most of you are probably aware, Dusty Rose is one of the rarest and also one of the most desirable Casablanca finishes ever made. Personally, in terms of aesthetics, I'm not a huge fan of this finish. Like, I probably wouldn't actually put this in any room of my house unless it was like my young daughter's room or maybe a laundry room. But the rarity does make me like it to an extent. Because it is cool to see a pink ceiling fan, even if I'm not that big of a fan of pink things in general. Now we'll click it up to medium. Yeah, so even though this fan, or this finish, was around for quite a while, I'd say 5, 6, maybe even 7 years, still not too many of these were sold. I guess it sold well enough to the point where Casablanca didn't axe it within a year or less's time, but nevertheless it sold very few, so there are very few of them around nowadays. It does seem they sold the best in their early years, though, as you more commonly see a Dusty Rose from 87 or 88 rather than some point in the 90s, though a couple of those have surfaced too. I have one of them, as a matter of fact. The blades are pretty well balanced, and the fan does have some dry bearing noise, but that's par for the course with these Casablancas, and it's gotten slightly better the more I've ran it. I think the fan may have been taken down for a long time before it was sold to me, so the bearings kind of needed to be broken back in. Now we'll take it to high. Very fast acceleration up to high, which I like to see. This is definitely one of the... or it's definitely very fast and powerful. And there's a bag blown around on the floor. Move that over. In terms of performance, it's how you'd expect any Delta II to perform. Fast, powerful, good air mover. There are also some ever so slight crackling noises coming from the cracks along the gloss in the blades, but it's barely noticeable from the sound of all the air being thrust around. And there you go, a 1986 Casablanca Delta II in Dusty Rose.